Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in this video I'm going to show you how to make this dress. Guys, this dress is very easy to make. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead. You see, I've cut out, this is going to be the skirt. So basically we're going to just cut a basic pencil skirt. I like starting with this because it's just the easiest part to get it done. So basically the width I have here is just my hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1 inch or 1.5 depending on you, and then the other one is just the back panel with 1.5 inch, and then the length is just your the length you want the dress to. Once it's 47 and then your shoulder to waist is 17, once you subtract the two you will be left with 30. So that means the length of this is going to be 30 plus 1.5 or 2 inches depending on what you need, the seam allowances you need to fold it. So once that is done, the next thing I'm going to do is just going to be my waist divided by 4. Go ahead, mark that, plus extra 2 inches for 1 inch of seam allowance, 1 inch of darting. From the waist, come down to my hip line, and then I'm going to insert my hip divided by 4 plus 1, and then I'm going to connect it from the waist to the hip. And once that is done, I'm going to go ahead and at the bottom of this here, I'm going to take away 1 inch or 1.5 depending on you and the length of the skirt. Usually we do 1 inch, so I'm going to come down here at least 2 inches, and then I'm going to connect from this point here to this point. So guys, once this is done, the next thing is going to be your dart. So my nipple to nipple plus half an inch, go ahead, mark it, and then my dart is going to be at this point here, all the way 2 inches before my hip line, which is here, just like this. Half an inch on this side, half an inch on the other side, all the way on the 4 layers. So I'm going to notch it 2 layers of the front and 2 layers of the back. I'm going to have my darts just like that. So I'm going to go ahead, cut all this out, and then split open the back for the zipper. So the skirt is ready. So we have 1 panel for the front and then 2 of this for the back. So I'm going to just set it aside, and now we know that the skirt is ready, right? So moving on to, so guys, for my top, I'm cutting everything together. The 2 of them are going to have seam allowances. My back panel has about 1 inch or 1.5 for zipper allowance. My front panel has extra. Let me just raise it so you will see it. You see, this is folded away. This is for my placket for the button. You understand? The back panel here has the zipper. Sorry, has the zipper. This dress has the zip at the back, which is what will help you put it, the zipper at the back, which is what will help you put it on, and then a button in front, which is just fashionable, right? It will help your head fit into, but the zip at the back is what will actually help the dress pass through your hip and everything. So this zip at the back is going to extend all the way to the skirt for the back panel, and that's why I have extra 1.5 or 1 inch for the zipper allowance, which is this here. You see, it's just that I folded it because I'm going to be cutting the body. Everything I cut in front and the back they're going to be the same, except that the seam allowances I have for the zipper and the seam allowance I have for the button one is wider, if that makes sense. So that's the only difference between the 2 of them. So now the placket for the button, if you notice, the button in front doesn't go all the way to this. So the button in front just ends on the front panel. It doesn't go all the way to the skirt, if you notice that. So it's just the zipper at the back that will help you do that. So now that I've said that, the next thing I'm going to do is just to go ahead and cut. So you see, I'm going to place the 2 of them. If I place it on top of each other, everything is equal. All sides, the same shoulder to waist, everything is equal, because I folded away the seam allowances that would have caused any difference in them. So now I'm going to tilt it and start to insert my measurement. The length I have here is my shoulder to waist divided by 2. Like I said, that is 17 plus 1 is 18. So now I'm going to go up to the top here and insert my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So my shoulder divided by 2 is going to be 8. And then I'm going to come down here, mark 1 inch, and then I'm going to insert my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. So whatever that is for you, go ahead and mark it, or just divide your armhole by 2, and then I'm going to connect it all the way to the top like this. And then I'm going to go ahead, mark my neckline, which is going to be 3 inches here, your basic 3 inches. Connect your shoulder slope, and then after that I'm going to go ahead and mark my bust divided by 4. The width of this here is just my bust divided by 4 plus extra 1.5 of seam allowance, or 1 inch of seam allowance depending on you. After that, I'm just going to give it a curve like this, and then come down to the waist, divide my waist by 4, and then I'm going to add my seam allowances to it. and then I'm going to connect it all the way to the bust like this. And then the same thing we did from this center point. Now my nipple to nipple divided by 2 plus like half an inch. My dart here is going to go all the way from the shoulder to my nipple, which is at 12, but 1 inch before that. Remember for the hip we did 2 inches before the hip. This one is going to stop 1 inch before it gets to the nipple line. So at this point I'm just going to connect it down here, and then sorry, half an inch on this side, half an inch on that side. So basically I'm going to also go ahead and notch it, although I'm still going to make some changes at the back, but this is it here. So all I have to do now is go to this here, and then I'm going to come down 1 inch for the neck depth for the back. Come down from this top part here, mark 1 inch. This is going to be your neck depth for the back. So guys, the dart we have here, so the dart in front is going to stop 1 inch before the nipple line, but the dart at the back is going to go all the way to the chest line. That's another difference here. So the dart at the back is going to go up to the chest line, which is actually this my armhole line, but the dart in front is going to stop 1 inch before the nipple line. So I'm going to go ahead, cut this out, cut the shoulder slope, armhole, and cut the side out. So guys, now I'm going to separate the two of them. So I know that this is the back panel, although I've made the mistake of marking my dart here, but this is actually my back panel because the zipper allowance is smaller. The one for the front is longer. So guys, you see I've made the correction. This is my front panel, this is my dart here. The one for the back, the dart is going all the way to the top. So now there are two things I'm going to change here now. The back panel, I'm going to go all the way at the center back of this zipper now. I'm going to, at this point here, I can open this up, my zipper allowance. So this is my zipper. At the back, I went up 1 inch here, and now I'm going to connect it from this part like this all the way to the side like this. You see, so this will help my zip not to bulk up, right? Remove 1 inch because your back is shorter than the front, so remove 1 inch here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to be cutting this out here. So guys, now I've made the changes for the back. I'm going to set it aside. That's the only change. So guys, the one for the back is done. I've set it aside. So the only change we're going to be making in front is just, I'm going to come down. So from the tip here, I'm going to mark 3 inches for the front neckline. From here all the way, I'm going to connect it just like this. So this is it for the front. We need to make it 3 inches for the front neckline, not just 1 inch. We need to bring it down. I've marked this in front. I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. I place this back after I removed that 1 inch from the neckline here. The next thing I did is just to place this back together again. Guys, another thing you can do is when you're cutting this, you can cut it as a sleeveless, right? So your shoulder divided by 2, subtract 1 from it, and then insert and then just insert your armhole at that point. I think this will be more flattering. That way the shoulder of this is just right on your shoulder and not at the edge, if that makes sense. So it takes in this part a little bit inside of your shoulder, and then when the sleeve comes in on the side, it will look better. So what I'm going to do now, since I didn't do that at the beginning, is I'm going to just go ahead, maybe instead of 1 whole inch, I can do 0.75, right? And then what I can do is just go ahead from this armhole now, connect it to that point and cut it off. So you see I'm cutting it for both the front and the back. I put the two of them back together. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. I've cut that out. So you see this part goes in more. So now all I have to do is just to go to the sewing machine. Guys, this is it. All you have now is just your back panel. So this is my back panel. Don't make the mistake of joining the one that is not the back. So this is my back. Let me write it again. Zip, right? Although it's shorter, but at least I want to just be sure. So this is the back here, the 2 pieces of the back that is going to form the zip at the back here, and then this is the front here with the 2 pieces that will form the front panel here, my button. So what you're going to do once you go to the sewing machine, this is the back, right? Set it aside. But the one for the front, what you're going to do is that 2 inches that we left at the end here, fold in half an inch at the end, and then turn 1 inch over. This will form your bottom placket, you understand? So this is for you to form the bottom placket. Do it on the other side. Then the two of them, they will overlap each other like that to form your front panel. And once that is done, once you've done it, go ahead, pick your dart on this side, pick your dart on this side, and just use half an inch to sew down the bottom of this here, so that now the front of this and this, they are together, if that makes sense. So you need to hold it down at this end here. And then when you're done, you're also going to pick your dart on your skirt, and then you're going to take the front panel of your skirt. Once you pick the dart for the front panel of the skirt, you're going to join it together to just join it, sew it down here at the bottom with that same 1 inch, you understand? So even if I wanted to join it, it would look something like this now, using half an inch to join the two of them together. But in the meantime, I've already folded this side away to make my bottom placket, folded this other side away to make my bottom placket, and then overlap the two of them enough, right? Check and make sure that your bust measurement and the 1 inch of seam allowance is still there, and everything is okay the way it's supposed to be. You're not overlapping it way too much that the neckline is crossing over. Just make sure that you're crossing it enough that it's what it's supposed to be, and then check your measurement. If you don't know how you can do that, you can just go ahead and pin your back panel together, and then use your back panel. Just fold away the sides for your back panel, and then use your back panel to measure it out. That way you will not be confused. And then once you're done, add your skirt to it. Join the back panel together with the back panel. Join the shoulders together, and then we'll come back and insert the sleeve. With now, you see my back panel is ready. The only thing that I did here is that I closed it up all the way to the end here, leaving room for my slits. And then I stopped where my zip is going to stop. And then at the top here, I close up at least almost 1.5 inches at the top part here. I'll tell you why. This is because we are going to be adding our collar. And the collar, if you're going to add a collar, you can't add a collar and the zip will go all the way to the top. It can't work that way. So you have to close up at least 1.5 all the way to the top. And then now we can make room for the zipper. So when I go to add my zip, I'll just add my zip like how I normally add zipper. But it's just that going up to this point here, now this part of it is just going to remain the same, just like this. It's just going to stay open like this at the top on this side, and then the top on this side. If you want, you can use just 1 inch of closure here, so that this part here can go up even more and get to the end here. That way the very end of it will go into your collar when you go to sew it down. You understand what I'm saying? So this is the zipper now. Let me show you. This is the back. This is how I place the zipper. This is how we normally have it. You see the seam here, one going to this side, one going to this other side. You see the two seams from the center back. One is going to this side, one is going to this side. Normally when we place our zip, it's going to lay in between here, but the only difference is that our zip opens up all the way to the top here. But what I'm saying is that since we're going to be adding a collar here, we need to close up this part here. You understand? This part of it here needs to be closed up. So that's why I close up to 1.5 inches there. And I'm telling you that if you want, you can do one inch. That way, the end of, if you're going for maybe a neater look, it would look nice if this end of this here, this end here, these tips here can also go inside of the collar when you're going to sew it round. You understand? So that way this end of it is not disturbing you inside of the clothes, because it will be weird if it's just there and disturbing you inside the cloth. But if you end it inside of this band here now, you know it's going inside of the collar, and then you understand what I'm saying. So now what I'm going to do is, I think we should go ahead and cut the collar first before we attach the zipper. So guys, now that I've spoken about the back, let's talk about the front. You see what I was saying here? This is where we stopped so far. The bottom part here is held together with a seam that is going all the way to my skirt. My skirt the front part doesn't have any opening here. It just stops like this. This is what will help me put my head inside this dress. The zip is what will help me pass the dress through my hip coming up, right? So now what we're going to do is just to tackle the neckline. So what you're going to do is go ahead and measure from this point here and come back all the way to the other end of the collar. And whatever you get, we're going to cut it on a fabric. So guys, this is what I have right now. So I've gone ahead and insert my zip. I tried to use an invisible zipper, so this is what it looks like at the back right now. You see, I know it's not perfect, but this is what I'm working with right now. So this is the zip. You see where it stops? So going up here, it stops right here. And then this is what I did at the top part here. You see what I was saying? I tried to sew it down at the top here. I sewed it down like this into this part. So now what I have for my collar, like I said, you're going to go ahead, measure from the end of this and come back to this other end. What I got was 18.5. So what I did was, you can see that I already folded mine. It's ready to insert here already. So this is what I'm working with. I notched it at the center, and what I have here is basically that 18.5, right? So I just got my fabric, folded it into two. This is 4 inches of width here, but open like this, it's 8 inches like this. I folded it into two like this. Made sure that across this way I have 18.5 divided by 2. I added half an inch of sewing it here, but at the bottom part here I added extra 1 inch or 1.5 to it, and so that I can be able to get this angle. You know, your collar is never straight like this. You see, it's never straight, because if I put a straight line down here now, I have an angle formed at this bottom part here. So just to get that angle, so once you do that at the top here, you can do your whatever you got here divided by 2 plus half an inch. The half an inch you're adding here is just for you to be able to sew this close, right? But then when you come down to this bottom part, what you're going to do is whatever you had at this top part here, add maybe 1 inch to it. That way you can just angle it to that point, right? Angle it at the very tip of it, and then use the half an inch to join it. Then you'll be left with extra half an inch at the bottom. Then that will be able to form your collar. So now what I'm going to do is just go in now. If you want, you see I've ironed my own, but if I want, I could have also ironed the bottom part here in half an inch and half an inch at this part here. And then I'm going to just take it this way, insert it. So you see what I'm saying? Tuck in half an inch on this side, tuck in half an inch at the bottom, form this point here like this, and then you're going to take this part of this pointy part here, insert it in between here. Guys, this is my easiest method of making collar, but you can do whatever method works for you. This just saves me time, so I'm just going to take this here, insert it inside of this here, and just sew it all the way around. And once it comes over to this side, just like that, I have a collar. And then once the collar is done, we're going to go ahead and focus on the sleeve. So you see, we've done the back, we've done this front here. All we need for the front is just putting buttonhole. The collar will be done soon, and then we'll go into the sleeve part. The first thing you're going to measure is the sleeve length. So your total sleeve minus the cuff. So let's say your total sleeve up to the cuff is like 24. So you're going to subtract how much you want the cuff to be, maybe 5 inches or 4 inches, depending on you. So let's say I want to work with 5 inches. If I subtract that, whatever I have left is going to be the length I'm working with here plus 1 inch. So whatever it is, add 1 inch to it. So let's say I have 18, I added 1 is 19. The next thing I'm going to do is just come up here, and then the width of this paper itself. So your armhole width is what it's going to be. So you can use your bust divided by 6 plus 1.5. and then maybe add extra 1 inch or so to it, and with your cap height, whatever your cap height is. So for me, that is 4. I'm going to mark 4 inches down from this point, and then I'm going to connect it all the way. Guys, just don't mind this part here. It's just I'm reusing a paper that I've already used initially, so that's why. So basically, you rule a straight line like this. Measure the upper part of your arm, whatever it is, divide it by 2. So from your one side of your arm, from the back to the front, whatever it is, divided by 2, add it here. So for me, I'm going to use about 5.5 or almost 6 inches. Come down here, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect from this point all the way to the end. So this is going to be my armhole. So use your armhole cuff to connect this to this point. Head and cut it out from here and out, just like that. So this is going to be my armhole like this. So guys, you know, normally for a long sleeve, we would have done something that looks like this to narrow the end of the sleeve, right? We would have measured, but remember, this is going to be a puffy sleeve, so that's why I'm leaving everything in. So guys, after that, the next thing I'm going to do is to come up here and divide this. You can do into 3. So I'm going to go ahead and mark maybe 1 inch in between. So first 1, or you can do just enough to split it into 3 is what you're going to need. So it can be 1.25, or if it's 3 inches that you use, then just use 1 inch. If it's like me that you used for, maybe you have to do 1.3 or 1.3, just like that, all the way up. So I've split mine. I'm just going to go ahead and cut it 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go ahead. So guys, this is it here, everything cut out. So now I'm going to go ahead and trace it out on the fabric. So guys, this is it here. You see what I did here? So I went ahead and placed it on the fabric. Guys, remember, when you're making an exaggerated sleeve, you have to have exaggeration both on the side and then even with the length too, something like this cowl sleeve. So now you see what I did here. If you have enough fabric, I don't have enough fabric, I could have given it enough space here so that I can get more draping, but my fabric is light enough to give me the drape, so I don't mind. So you see what I did here? I added about 1.5 or 1 inch in between. Don't mind that this is moving, just like that. At this top here, what I have here is just enough for me to use the tape to iron it down, or it's just for a seam allowance to, or turn it over, right? This upper one here is just for that. If you want, you can stop it here and use bias to just fold it, but this is what I'm working with right now. So I'm just going to go ahead now and give it a curve like this, just to know where my armhole is. Just make sure you place it this way, all the way to the top. So now I've recreated that armhole back. So now what I'm going to do is to just go ahead now and cut this from here and remove all the pins. So guys, the reason I've not removed it is because I want to show you guys. So at the bottom of each one, I'm going to go ahead and notch it. So I'm just going to notch it this way so that I know that this is the part where I'm going to be plating it from. So I'm also going to notch it on this other end. So the bottom of each one here, I'm going to go ahead and notch. If you want, you can notch it both the top and the bottom part too, just so you know where, because this is how I'm going to be folding it. So I'm going to start from here, and then I'm going to fold it in such a way that this one will meet and get this one back like this. So you see, you're going to create back this pleat again, just like that. So you have this back, and then this part here will drape. And then, like I said, this one here is just for my seam allowance at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this now. Guys, I would advise to use at least 1.5 or 2 inches in between, depending on how your fabric is. If it's like a lighter fabric or heavy fabric, just so you have more drape in here. Because as you can see, mine is not that much, but it's okay for me like that. And then with that said, I'm going to remove everything, and then I'm going to cut it open at the top, because this is on a fold. So I'm going to release it, so because I'm cutting it for 2 sleeves. So guys, this is what I have here. So ideally, you're going to get your fabric, fold it into 2, right? If it's 5 inches that you want to use, just add 1 inch to it. But I don't have a fabric that can fold into 2, so I had to join 2 pieces together here. Used half an inch to sew it at the end here, and then I ironed in a stitch just to help it hold, be stiff. That is wide enough, fold it into 2, and make sure you have about whatever length you decided to use for your cuff, and then half an inch at the end on this side here. So because that's the end where you're going to be joining the sleeve from. So now the next thing I'm going to do is fold it into 2 like this, just the way it is now. And then I'm also going to fold the other one, and then you're going to go ahead and measure. So this is going to be the end of the sleeve, this part here, and then this part here is going to be the upper. Measure this end here and figure out what the sleeve width is for you. So for me, what I'm working with is about 8 inches. So divided by 2, so around my cuff here, it's 8 inches, and plus I don't want my own too tight, right? So this is okay for me. 8 inches is perfect. So 8 inches divided by 2, that is 4. I'm going to go ahead and add 1 inch to it, 1 inch of seam allowance. I'm sorry, half an inch of seam allowance to close up this edge, and then half an inch of ease added to it because it's going to be overlapping. So I'm going to use that half an inch to overlap it to add the button. So that is total of 1 inch. So 4 inches plus 1, that is 5. Mark it here, and then I'm going to come up to this point here and measure what the length is at the width is at this part. So for me, I have 11.5 with some room added to it. So 11.5, I'm going to go ahead and measure that here. So that is going to be 0.75 or so. And then I'm also going to add another, like I said, 1 inch added to it. Added 1 inch here, 11.5 divided by 2, added 1 inch. So after that, I'm just going to go ahead and connect it this way. Like I said, half an inch of this is going to serve as seam allowance to close up the end of this part. Half an inch of it is just going to serve as room to open. But if you don't want your own to have any button, you can just use that 1 inch to just close it up entirely. There's no need for that. But I want mine to overlap each other so that I can be able to add a button to it. So that's the reason for that. So let me go ahead. So guys, this is what I currently have at the moment. You see, after this here, this is the end of the sleeve here. So basically, this is what I have. You see the narrow part here, and then the wider part at the top. So all I have to do is just to open it up now, and then just like how I close this place, I'm going to go ahead and close up this side here, close up this side here. So I'm going to start from here, use half an inch to join this part, start from here, and also use half an inch to join this other part too. So once I join these two together, I'm going to then fit in this whole ruffle inside of this here. So I'm going to go ahead and gather the whole part of this here, the whole sleeve. So if I open it up now, it looks something like this. So I'm going to try, you see, I notched it at this point here, and also this part of this here is also notched. So I'm going to try to gather all this part of it inside this cuff, gather all this part of it inside of this cuff. But before I even do that, I'm also going to sew close. So guys, now that you see, the next thing I did was just to go ahead and close the seam. So this is what it looks like. So I went ahead and closed up this side seam all the way down here, but then coming to the end here, I used the seam allowance from the seam to just turn this side around, just so I sewed it over, just turned it over and sewed it like this, because this part here is going to be the part where I start my cuff. So basically one side of this cuff here is going to start from this end here, and then I'm going to tuck it in and then come back all the way to the other end, if that makes sense. So way to cross over, and then this other part of it is going to end somewhere here. So that means when by the time I'm done, these two ends here will meet these two ends here. By the time I'm done, I'll end up with these two parts here being inside of these two parts here. So that's basically what it looks like. I've done. So this is it here, you see. So at that point, the beginning here, you see what it looks like. This side here also. So every other thing here goes inside of this scarf, and that's it. So at the top here, the next thing you have to do is just to go ahead and make that pleat and hold it down with a stitch, so that once you get your sleeve, you're going to go ahead and insert it. So once I cut my dress now, I'm going to insert this part of the sleeve, and this is done, and the other part of it is going to just drape over like this. So guys, you see, I've gone ahead and joined the collar. You see, it's just one straight fabric, but once I fold it into two like this, now I've formed a good like the two-step collar this way. Right? I don't usually like to do the tracing one because it takes, in a video, it takes much time to trace it and then start to cut it. But I'm going to link a video on how to cut the tracing method for the collar. But if you want, you can also use this one. The main thing is that you still got the collar, right? So you see what I did here? I've added one of the other sleeves. So this is what it looks like at this point. So you see, I used bias to finish up the upper part. So basically what I did is I came down from the tip of this shoulder by 4 inches, right? So took my tape, measured 4 inches from this point down to 4 inches. It depends on you. You don't have to do 4 inches if you don't want to. You can do 3, but I want to have enough coach shoulder here. And plus I didn't add much fabric when I was I did just 1 inch of in between this in between the splicing of this thing here. So I didn't really add much fabric in between it, so I don't have enough fabric to make up for the armhole, you understand? So that's why I decided, okay, 4 inches is perfect for me. But if you have enough, you can do 3 inches. That way it just goes up to your shoulder and then drapes and goes down. But mine came down a little bit, right? You know, you can narrow it and bring it up a little bit up here, like 3 inches, and then it just falls over and just drapes down. But 4 inches is okay for me. So now that I've notched it, right, what I was saying is that you're going to take it the way it is now. Take your sleeve, you see? On this side now, you see, when I was closing this armhole up, I didn't reach to the end. So just take one side of the armhole, start from that 4 inches, join it there, you see, just like this. From that 4 inches, make a stitch and go around. Turn it over to the other side. Start from the other 4 inches, sew it and go around, and then complete your seam again. Go back into the sleeve of this, and then continue your seam and go down. That's how I did this one. And once that is done, the next thing I did was just to take bias. The excess fabric at the end, I went inside of it. The excess fabric at the end, I just used bias to turn it over. That is how I did this one. You see, this is where my 4 inches is. This is where my 4 inches is. You see how my bias even went inside of this here. I just took out the fabric that was left like this. You know how you join your thing, and this is it here. I just used bias like this, like just like this. Placed it on top of this all the way, and just sewed it and then turned it over. You see, and then sewed it all down. So this is what mine looks like on this side. You see, once I finished, I sewed it, came down here, I went into the sleeve here and joined it all the way down to the armhole, just like that. And then the same thing is what I'm about to do on this side. So once I do that now, I'm going to fold my cloth and then go ahead and insert my buttons where they have to be and the buttonhole, and then I'll bring it back for you guys, so you guys can see. This here, you see, my dress is ready. And I don't have button at the moment, so I just tacked this down. But you already know, once I get my button, I'm going to put it in here. Or another thing you can do is just put button and then put a loop to go towards the button, you understand? So it doesn't have to be button and then buttonhole. You can also add like a rope going from one side to the other, right? But it's just that you have to insert it inside of this band on one side. So that's basically all I have. See it here? And this is the bottom of the dress. This is the back with the zipper here going down, and then you see my collar here, you see my zip. That's why this invisible zip is good, but like it's still the best for this type of style because it's hidden. So that's basically it here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Guys, please like, share and subscribe. Bye.